Hello, friends. Natalie Dawn Hansen here with part 6 of A Neighbor's Reality, this video series that I just felt moved to start so that we could visit with different people from different walks of life, different industries that are being affected by this coronavirus. And the whole purpose of this was to just open up the conversation so that we all can be a little bit more understanding of one another's situations, and also just have a deeper level of compassion for where we all are, because even though we are experiencing the same sort of isolation and social distancing, the reality is that we are experiencing very different things at home and at work. And so today I am so thrilled to be introducing you to Dr. Ryan Lyson. He is my brother, and I'm so excited to have you here. Hi, Ryan. How you doing, bud?
Hey, doing great, Natalie. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I am so thrilled to have you here today. So doctor is actually doctor of, is it education or administration?
Yeah, it's an EDD, educational dissertation, so yeah.
So pretty exciting. I got to celebrate with Ryan just recently. He finished his dissertation and is now a doctor. It's pretty cool. And so the reason I asked Ryan here, for a couple of reasons. One, you are a male, and you just are different, right? You have different perspectives, different way of experiencing this situation. And not only that, but you are in education, and you right now, you've been in administration. You are now an instructional coach at a middle school in West Fargo. And I know you and I have talked a ton during these weeks. And I know that you have just a particular interesting situation where you've been trying to work at home, yet still love on your 3 boys and help them with their distant learning. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. But before we get there, will you just introduce everybody a little bit more to who you are and your family?
Yeah, so my wife Tracy and I have been married for 20 plus years. We will shout out her birthday here is in a couple days, May 12th. So she doesn't hit Mother's Day exactly this year. We have 3 lovely boys, 8th grader Jackson, 7th grader Lucas, and 3rd grader Carter. And so through the challenges and tribulations of online distance learning, so to speak, we've learned some things through the process. We've become a little bit tighter as a family. But overall, the experience has been one that I think everybody's ready to kind of move beyond now at that point.
I think you're right. So let's go back, I don't know, about 2 months ago. And I want you to just give us a little bit of insight into what life was like for your household pre-COVID-19. What was it like? What was reality?
Well, I think we were a typical American family. You know, it was the rat race, looking at schedules in the morning, trying to figure out who's going to pick up who's going to be making dinner, what activity are we going to run to.
Exactly.
And so that's just typical of everybody. And so I like to refer to it as camp chaos at times. And so you just try to manage it the best you can until the weekend, and then recharge your batteries the best you can.
Right.
So that was pre-COVID-19. And I think it really, to be honest with you, put a halt on all the busyness that we were doing and gave families an opportunity to reflect on really where they're at.
It's so true. It's so true. I think we all know at the end of a busy week that we need rest. There might be ways in which we need to slow life down, but then life just happens again Monday morning, and we just keep going through the pace of it. And this was something that forced us to stop dead in our tracks. We had no choice. Everything was canceled. And so what was it like then for you all when that halt happened? And this, I want you to speak to regarding your work and home life with kids. What was it when you got that mandate to stay home? What was reality then for you?
Well, I think it came to reality when a couple of friends that I have some vulnerable children. And so when the schools shut down and they pulled the pin on that, I think everybody felt that was the North Dakota smart thing to do. But at the same time, I think a whole new reality set in is how do you balance that this is no longer a weekend? This is now day-to-day operations that we're doing. And I came across pretty hard right away with my kids, and I gave them a schedule, and
I know you did.
it
It
was
was great.
detailed, to be quite honest with you, by the hour, on the hour. Uh, and they rose to the challenge. They did quite well the first couple of weeks with that, prior to our school actually instilling the distance learning.
Right.
Because as that was going on, for the first 2 weeks of this process, I was probably in meetings from 7:30 in the morning to 4:30 in the evening.
And when you're
And
talking meetings, you're talking virtual meetings, right?
virtual meetings online, trying to navigate the different ways to communicate with people, and then trying to set forth the expectations, the protocols. And that was quite challenging because I'm more of a people person, so I like to engage with people. And so talking to a computer and putting on my virtual happy face was quite challenging.
Right.
And
And having
so,
the same level of energy that you would have face to face.
right.
It's kind
And
of,
I was physically and mentally exhausted
I know.
after those first 2 weeks. And once we got it up and running, it was a little bit easier, but the support through that process was quite challenging. And then it's always that balance between, if I'm here in the computer, what are my 3 kids doing? And the middle school boys, they are, I would like to think that all my boys are self-sufficient at this point. They can go make themselves a sandwich. They can get something to eat, something to drink.
Right.
However, is it the healthiest choice that they're eating or drinking? Is it what they are doing on their free time? Is it just doing Xbox with your boys on playing Fortnite, or engaging in YouTube channels that maybe, all right, are you supposed to be doing that? And so I think there was a lot of those moments where I had to just let them do what they were doing, and then I had to engage with the teachers that I was working with.
Right. I can relate a little bit. There were days where I just said, I'm going in my office, I'm shutting the door. And I think we had to get to a point of just trusting that we've done a good job up to this point, and it's okay for them to be on their own a little bit too. And I think what I found throughout this whole process is that we've just had to have a lot of grace and understanding for one another. But can you speak a little bit more to what you are having to do as far as work goes? Are you supporting teachers a great deal? Students?
Yeah, so typically, like, I'll work with individual teachers. I'll work with teams of teachers. I'll work with district level administrators, and then building level administrators, to communicate to them what's really going on in the groundworks. One of the things is I have a unique perspective with having children within the district as well, so I can give them the parent perspective. And I think all of that combined allows for us to continually learn through this process.
Right.
And the biggest challenge as we go forward and moving
That was going to be my next question.
is, how does this evolve? Because I think everybody's hitting their breaking point right now. Like, hey, we put a valiant effort in, but I'm also kind of like that. I got the old coach in me too, that, hey, it's fourth quarter. We got to finish.
Push
We
through.
got 3 minutes to go. We got to suck it up, and we just got to get after it. Now, that's easier said than done, because motivating somebody through this is a lot different than having the parent fight the battle of, you need to get your work done. Oh, I got an email from your teacher. You're still not done with this. And believe it or not, kids are treating this online learning right now, at least my kids are, more like a chore list. So they're not truly learning to learn.
Not completely engaged, even though teachers, for the most part, are trying, and I think they're doing an amazing job. They are doing what they can to use these tools to engage the kids as much as possible. But those of us that are parents doing the distant learning at home, I think we are finding that you're right. They're just kind of going through the work. How much true learning is really taking place, I'm not sure. We're all just doing the best we can.
Well, and some things that we have to understand is this disruption is what it's called. It's a disruption in what we're doing. And so it's forced us to be innovative in a new way. And we have the tools already to communicate. It's not like we didn't have Zoom. We didn't have the ability to share resources. We didn't have the technologies to be able to be face-to-face and have these conversations. We had them. However, everybody was so busy with the other things that we were doing that we didn't get to put maybe our full force effort into, for instance, an educator talked to me and he said, Ryan, you know what this really forced me to do? It forced me to get really good at our learning management system within the school, like how to properly upload assignment, how to
Right.
create a wee video for a student, how to provide that meaningful feedback online. And so it's forced them to evolve as educators um, faster than maybe they thought that they could go.
Wow.
Uh, and so I think there's a lot of teachers that have felt that. And then we have a lot of our instructors too that they're by themselves. So they don't have a family. So yes, it may be tough to balance kids and work. But then I'm there's two things I'm most concerned about in this process. And I think I don't know if disappointment or frustration or what it is, but one of them is the people that are at home alone. That mental health component is so critical.
Right.
And the social emotional learning of what our students are engaging in is so critical, especially when they're middle school kids, because their frontal lobe is firing and they're
Oh,
just
I've seen it a lot.
and they're morphing into people that you don't see. So that whole component, the schools aren't able to really facilitate or help with, because learning is social. Learning is not like this. And no matter what we say, we at some point we have to get back to that social atmosphere, because that's what kids need. That's what we need to learn. However, the second component is that it's the students that have maybe the unhealthy relationships within their family life. Maybe they are lower socioeconomic status. We're very blessed to be able to, I still get paid every day. You know, my wife has her own practice. She gets paid. But these families the parents that have been laid off, that are struggling with trying to get a meal, those kids that maybe did not have the iPad or other technologies available at home, a printer to print off stuff, any of those types of things. And so the school districts had to help facilitate that and put these devices in these students' hands, and with the help of different companies to be able to open up that Wi-Fi for the availability for all, I think is a huge asset. But we still struggle with not knowing what's going on between those walls with those kids and the parents, and what is that actual culture or life like there. And so that's I think my biggest, I think we're separating the haves and have-nots even more in this process.
Right. I hear you. And I have talked to some teachers, and for most teachers, that is what is weighing on them the most, is just not having that one-on-one connection, especially for kids that they know maybe need a little extra support, to not know what's happening anymore. That's a hard thing to not have kind of a touch point with. I'm curious, from your just standpoint in education, what do you think this time of distant learning and forced technology usage is going to do for education in the fall, or even in the future? Could this potentially change how certain things are done?
Well, I think we can become more efficient. And what I mean by that is number one, for instance, let's say I'm supposed to go to a meeting in the district office. So instead of me having to travel when it's 25 below out to go 15, 20 minutes across town for a meeting that's going to be an hour and a half long, couldn't I just do that via Zoom in my office at my regular building? And so I think you're going to see a lot of those advantages being taken place. There are those opportunities where we want parents to come into the building, or we want to have a meeting with parents and we want to problem solve. Well, these opportunities now where parent struggles to get off work, struggles to get to the school. I mean, for goodness sakes, you guys are pretty rural out there in Elbow Lake. So for you to drive all the way to Barrett for a half-hour meeting on one of your kids is, yeah, you can do that. You have the flexibility, but could you do the same thing via Zoom? And I think providing those opportunities for parents and stakeholders to be engaged in their student learning would be beneficial.
Right. I think there's been this learning curve that we've just had to all kind of follow along. And now we're kind of on that same page where most people now have participated in some part of technology to
Yep.
stay connected with their people. And so we're all, I think, moving at a different level and understanding the efficiency and the benefit that it can be down the road. But I think you make the good point that we were all created to be in community with other people, to have those social interactions. And so for me, I really, even just me personally, not just my kids, that's for me been one of the toughest things, is to just not be social, not to see our people, not to do the things we love. So for you, what has been one of your biggest disappointments in regards to home or work or whatever? What's
Yeah.
something that you've just
I,
had to soak in and let go?
I think one of the things that has still not struck me yet is the whole graduation for our 2020 grads. I mean, I can remember exactly where I was on September 11th. And when I say that date, I mean, I was teaching at Moorhead, and it was a tragedy for our nation. And I see these graduates coming through this year, and it's the kids involved in the extracurriculars, the fine arts, those experiences that you don't have to have, that you don't get for your last concert, for your last musical, for your last, competition. And it's not about winning necessarily when it comes to extracurricular. It's about experiencing that opportunity. And when that is just taken from them, that's a very traumatic event.
Right.
And so when we talk trauma, that's where I would really say that that's the most disappointing thing I am. I mean, I think of these athletes that were going to compete for the state A boys basketball championship in North Dakota. And right before the championship game, they said, no more, you can't play.
Yeah.
Man, that's just
Heartbreaking.
heartbreaking. And so I think those are the things that really, I think, resonate with me the most. The other thing I do concern myself with is if I'm a graduating senior, do I really want to continue my education online? I mean, I look at our brother Brady. I mean, he's full-time National Guard, and he's recruiting guys left and right. I mean, it's nonstop. We're putting guys in boots, he says. And I think that's a great opportunity for a lot of kids that may have not chosen to, or may have said, I'm going to go to a 4-year college just because that's what we need to do. But remember, we're trying to create these students to, number one, be taxpayers, but more importantly, be choice ready. So are you going to be ready for the military? Are you ready for the academic world with a 2-year or 4-year college? Are you ready to go out and partake in a different type of field? And so I think having those other avenues available for students could be helpful, but I do see that, the 4-year colleges and 2-year colleges are probably going to take a hit too this coming fall.
For sure. And I've also even thought of those that are graduating college, and to look at the economy that they are now trying to walk into to find jobs. I mean, it's going to be tough for a lot of people in those ways.
Yeah.
Let's switch it a little bit and ask, have there been any, in the midst of all of the challenges and the struggles and the disappointments, have there been any blessings, any things that have happened within your home, in your life, that you've looked at and gone, wow, like there's still good happening?
Well, I think first and foremost, our families become closer. And what I mean by family, I mean the 5 of us. My 2 older boys, they would fight constantly. And I think they were forced to just get along because that was their only companion that they had face to face. So I've seen their relationship evolve. That's been a positive. Tracy and I have become closer through this process. The gyms aren't open, right? So we can't go work out at a gym. So we've been forced to work out together.
Yeah, you guys been rocking it. That's pretty awesome.
And so I think that's the one thing that has helped us, through this. And, we are routine people. We need routine. And we've stuck to that, getting up every morning early, eating our meals when we need to eat them. And I see all these memes. There's a ton of memes out there, and some of them are quite funny. But I can't help but think that as we, get through this, that I think everybody's ready to say it's time for us to start opening up a little bit more. And I'm not a doctor in medicine. I'm not a politician that has one side or the next. But at the end of the day, I know this: we are social beings. We need to be around each other, and we need to be smart when we do it. And I think that's the one blessing in all of this, is that maybe COVID-19, the coronavirus, has put pushed the pause button for everybody and
Mm,
allowed us to all truly reflect on what means most to us
right.
and how to have balance in life with work and family is so critical. And then also how to have balance in our relationships within our family. And that's the one thing I truly believe if everybody asked me what it allowed me to do, that would be it.
Right. And I think it really just has given me time to completely focus on priorities. Like, what are those things that are truly most important at the end of the day, at the end of life? What are those things that are most important? Where do we want to be spending most of our time, most of our resources, most of our efforts? And so I have no doubt that it will have an impact on how people start up life again when things begin to open. And I'm hoping that it will be something that we don't forget, right? A perspective that we don't forget moving forward.
Yeah.
This has been so good, Ryan. Thank you for sharing so much. Do you have any other last just encouragements or tips for people, whether it's parents or educators?
I think at the end of the day, what we all need to do is understand that educators are doing the best they can. They have spent countless hours trying to engage learners, and parents have done an amazing job trying to help their students go through this. I just can't help but think that when this is all done, there's going to be a newfound respect for what educators do on a day-to-day basis. And
Mm,
I've seen a lot of people out there, oh, they get days off, they get the summers off. Yeah, they get that off to recharge their batteries because they've been dealing with your kids for 9 months. And so I think parents are seeing that full-fledged now, that it's a little bit easier said than done.
right.
And I think educators are going to have a newfound purpose and passion for what they need to do when they get those kiddos back in the classroom. So.
Oh, it's so true. I love that. And you and I, we're people of faith. So before we close, I'm just going to ask you one last thing. Has this time affected your faith in any way? Has it grown? Has it made you reflect in different ways?
Well, yes. I've even reached out to our pastors and visit with them. And so I think it's one of those things that we still watch church on Sundays via technology.
Yeah.
But I think it's your own personal journey that you go on. And we all have struggles. We all have good days and bad days. But that balance is so critical in what we do. And not trying to be fake about it. I mean, because that's the part that really irritates me the most. And I think being authentic is so important and being real. And there's so many people that are out there on that fence that are struggling and they need to reach to their faith, but
Right.
it has to be on their terms.
Right. And not only that, but people who are struggling that maybe aren't finding the strength to reach out and ask for help. I mean, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to say today was a crappy day. How many times have we talked in the last 6 weeks and we've said, oh, today was just an
I'm
awful
telling,
day.
I'm telling you right now, Tuesday, it was the struggle bus.
This,
I mean, nothing went well whatsoever. Worst parent, worst educator, worst everything, I mean, it's true. We all have those days.
I know. And I think it makes us all feel so much better just to hear somebody else say, it was a bad day for me too. But we all know at the end of it, what are our kids really seeing from this? They know that they are loved, they are safe, they know we're showing up for them.
Well, and I think the one thing that resounded most in me this last week was we had ordered a trampoline for our kids, and
I wonder how many families have been ordering trampolines.
Yeah, I could not get out there to build it, and I was in online meetings, and the next thing I know, I walk out there, and the whole thing is built. So these kids had basically put together this monstrosity of a trampoline within
Absolutely amazing.
4 hours, all by themselves, no adult supervision, and rocked it. And I think that's where we sometimes, I as a parent have to let go and realize that my children are getting older, and that trust factor that I have to instill in them and be able to let go is so important.
And that hands-on learning is incredible. I mean, they had to have problem solved. I've talked to adults that had a hard time putting that together. But I think I responded to the post that Tracy had put on, and I said, wow, this is right up Jackson's alley, is it not?
Oh,
Think
yeah.
about the little things he tinkers with and puts together. So for him to
Yeah.
be like the, what do they call it? The lead guy.
He's the foreman.
The foreman, there you go. I could
Yeah.
totally see it, envision it, and they were so excited that they called my boys right away to be able to celebrate, and that gives them something that they need during this time. It pumps them up. It makes them feel good. It makes them feel valuable. They did something really, really big, and so I think that's awesome that you were able to let that go and just give them the opportunity to succeed, which was really cool.
Oh.
All right.
All right.
Anything else?
Air high five.
Air high five. I'm going to just say a quick prayer before I leave, because a lot of the people watching this are of the faith, and I just want to pray specifically right now for educators. All right. Gracious God, we give you thanks for today, Lord, and especially thanks for all of the educators, the teachers, the instructional coaches, the administrators, the staff at schools, all of these people who are working day in and day out, putting in countless hours to support their students in the midst of this distant learning, Lord. And are there challenges? Yes. Are they tired? I am sure. But Lord, we just give you great thanks for them and for all of the efforts they're doing. And they do this because they love kids, God. And we are just so grateful. So we pray for all of them that you would give them the strength they need to endure these last few weeks of distant learning. And we just pray your blessings upon them and their families. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right, brother. Thanks so much for being here. This was great. Thank you all for taking time to watch this. By all means, if this is something you've enjoyed, I would just encourage you to share it with your people. Thanks so much. Take care. Breathe peace. We'll see you soon.